You ready? Let's go.
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Ball Sports again. I'm your host, Brandon. Today I'm going to give you my predictions for the 2020 NBA playoffs, who I think will win, why I think they will win, and how many games I think each series will go. We'll start off in the West. We got the Blazers and the Lakers in the first round, which is going to be a very interesting matchup. Lakers not playing that good in the bubble, even though LeBron and AD have they locked up the first seed and they really quit playing after that. I expect them to come out playing great, especially with some rest. LeBron's been getting rest. AD's been playing a little bit, but LeBron's been out. They say he's injured, but he's just taking a rest. He's just relaxing. They got the first seed. There's really no point for him to go out there and bust his ass to try to win more games. There's really no point at this point. Blazers kind of have a Cinderella story. Dame Lillard coming into the playoffs didn't really want to play meaningless games. Every game he ended up playing being a meaningful game. They won the ones that they needed to, beat the Blazers out for the 8th seed. Unfortunately, they're going to run into the best team in the NBA playoffs. I know they had a better year last year, but they will be out in the first round, probably around 5 or 6 games. I'll give the Blazers 1 or 2, but I don't think it goes past that. So Lakers will move on that one. Then we got Rockets versus OKC. My two favorite teams. Of course, it had to end up being like that. I do think the Rockets get this, but I do think it takes 6 games just because Westbrook's out. James Harden is one of the best players in the league. Best player on that team, but Russell Westbrook is the leader of the Houston Rockets. There's no doubt about that. Westbrook's always a leader on every team that he's been on. He's been the main focal point. Obviously, when you're a point guard, you're kind of similar to a quarterback in the NFL. Everything goes to you. You have the ball more of the time. I think this series stretches out. Either way, I'll be happy. Obviously, I want Westbrook to get into the second round, but OKC is my favorite team, so if they get to the second round, I think it'll be an interesting matchup. Nuggets versus Jazz. I have high praise for Donovan Mitchell, and I really think they can beat Denver. I could be wrong. I think it goes 7 games, honestly. I think the Jazz slip it out. That's kind of like a hot take because I know they're the 6th seed, but the Nuggets are kind of a undeserving 3rd seed. I don't really see them as a real threat to win the championship. Jokic is a good player, but you can't just have a good center on that team. They got a lot of good pieces around him, but not just one player is going to be able to do it. Move on to Clippers and Mavs. I think this one goes 6-7 games too. Honestly, the Mavs are kind of slept on. Really low seed at 7th, and the Clippers are really high at 2nd. I think the Mavs could squeak this one out, but I do see the Clippers winning it in 6 or 7. No doubt, just because Kawhi and Paul George, Patrick Beverly, they have a lot of good pieces around them to where they can end up making a finals run or at least get to the conference finals. Move on to the East, 1st and 8th seed, Magic and Bucks. Bucks win this one easy. I say it goes 4 games, not even 5. I won't even give the Magic 1. To be honest, I'm an NBA head, and I can't tell you more than a couple people on the Magic right now. They don't have any great players. They have a good player or two, but they don't have any great players. Really slipped into the playoffs barely. It's not that hard to make the playoffs in the East. Bucks win it in 4. Pacers versus Heat, which is also an interesting matchup. 2 very good teams. Pacers play very good fundamental basketball. And for the last 10, 15 years, the Pacers have never really tanked, but they've never really been a finals contender. They've never really won multiple championships in a row. But the Pacers are always a really decent team. Not bad, not terrible. They're just a good overall team, really fundamental basketball, have a lot of good shooters on their team. Victor Oladipo being back is probably going to be the main thing. He's kind of back into the flow of the NBA now after coming off that injury. I say they beat the Heat in 6. And a lot of people will disagree with that, but the Heat have Jimmy Butler. Tyler Herro's a up-and-coming star, but I don't think they get it done just because they don't have a lot of pieces besides that. Celtics versus 76ers. I think the Celtics win this one because Ben Simmons is out for the 76ers, and I don't know if Joel Embiid's all the way out, but I know he's got some injuries and he's fighting to constantly play. Honestly, they'll be lucky if he gets through the full series playing the constant. I think the Celtics win it in 6. Raptors versus Nets. Raptors in 4. No doubt about that. Raptors whoop on the Nets. Maybe if KD or Kyrie was playing, they'd have a couple games, but the Raptors win that one easy. The Raptors are actually a very good team without Kawhi, which was surprising. I thought the only reason they won the championship was because Kawhi, and why that might be true. The Raptors aren't a bad team at all. They could end up being in the conference finals. Move to the second round predictions, Lakers versus Rockets. I do think this one goes 7, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, you're just a Rockets fan. This is a series to watch if it ends up happening. Now, if OKC gets there, OKC loses in 5 games. The Rockets are a very good team, though. They're the only team who have 2 MVPs on the same team. 2 really good guys, 2 small guys, nonetheless, but this goes 6 or 7, no doubt. I do think the Lakers end up winning it, as sad as it is for me to say, being a Rockets and OKC fan. I think the Lakers squeak one out, unfortunately, but that one's still kind of a toss-up, too. You never know what could happen. Different conditions and certain things may happen to cause the Rockets to win it. Jazz and Clippers in the second round. Clippers, 6 games, 5 games, something like that. Jazz are a decent team. They're just a young team, and they're not ready yet. Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, I know they haven't got along since the whole COVID thing, and Rudy giving Donovan COVID and things like that. So there's a little team chemistry issues right there, but I do think they'll give the Clippers a run for their money. I do think the Clippers ended up I'd say the Jazz take game 1 and the Clippers win the rest of them or something like that. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say they get 1 maybe, but I don't see them winning more than 1 game. Second round in the East, Bucks and Pacers. Bucks win this one. 5 games, 4 games. I think the Bucks win it. I'm not really a huge fan of Giannis Antetokounmpo, but I know he's a great player. He's a good player, and I expect him to get the Pacers up out of there in 4 or 5 games. Celtics and Raptors in the second round. I want to say the Celtics. That's going to be a close one. That's probably the most evenly matched teams in the second round, Celtics and Raptors. I want to say the Celtics win it. I like Jason Tatum. I like Jaylen Brown. I like everybody on that team. They play really well together. And even though they're young, these guys are showing signs that they're going to be stars for multiple years to come, and I'm excited to see what the Celtics have going on. We'll move on to the Western Conference Finals. It's going to be Lakers and Clippers, no doubt. No doubt in my mind. Maybe the Rockets beat the Lakers, but I think the Clippers whoop everybody that they come across, and they end up reaching the Western Conference Finals with that stacked-ass team they got. I do think they get beat by the Lakers, though. It's going to be a good matchup nonetheless, but the Lakers will end up winning that. And you go over to the East, you have the Bucks and the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Bucks get it. It's going to be an interesting matchup. People are learning how to expose Giannis, even though he's a really good player, MVP caliber player. People are learning the formula. He can't really shoot very well. All he's got is that driving ability. If you kind of clog the paint and put a body on him, he starts to get flustered and he tries to do too much. I do think the Bucks and the Lakers end up being in the finals, and I think the Lakers will win it in 6 games. The reason why I think that is LeBron, one of the greatest players of all time, probably 3rd, 4th best player of all time. I think he's got more left in the tank. He's in his 17th year, and this guy's playing like he's 25 years old. LeBron, one of the greatest players of all time, behind Anthony Davis, a great, great player. I think they'll eventually get the job done, even with that young roster. And the Bucks just don't have enough. They don't have enough defense to contain. If Giannis is on AD, who's going to guard LeBron? I don't think Chris Middleton's got a chance in this world that he's going to be able to guard LeBron or AD. Giannis has got to take one of them. He can't guard both of them. Lakers win it in 5 games, 6 games probably. The Eastern Conference is just weak. Lakers are just badass. LeBron's one of the GOATs, and if he continues to play like this, he's going to be the GOAT despite the finals record, despite all that. LeBron's got a lot left in the tank, and it'll be interesting to see how these playoffs end up coming out. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for all the support. Leave a comment if you feel differently. But thanks for watching the video. This has been another episode of Ball Sports. I'm out, guys.